On this edition of Mississippi Roads, we'll explore two Mississippi museums, both located in the Fleurs Bluff State Park. Go in search of fossils along the banks of the mighty Mississippi and savor the soulful songs of Grammy Award-winning jazz vocalist Cassandra Wilson.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Support for the arts segment of Mississippi Roads comes from the Mississippi Arts Commission, whose vision is to support and celebrate Mississippi's creative and innovative spirit. Information available at arts.state.ms.us.
Down Mississippi Road, Mississippi Road.
Welcome to Mississippi Roads. I'm your host, Walt Grayson. Coming to you today from the Fleurs Bluff State Park in Jackson, home of the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. The Mississippi Museum of Natural Science is focused on the promotion and protection of Mississippi's unique and remarkably diverse natural heritage. Inside the museum, visitors can explore this marvelous diversity through a series of exciting exhibits and life-size habitat displays, which showcase the state's rich living heritage and its amazing natural history. The Mississippi Museum of Natural Science can be an almost magical place for children and families. Many exciting educational activities are available in the museum's Kids Corner, and the Discovery Room for preschoolers is always in high demand. There's another place that the entire family is going to want to stop here at the Natural Science Museum, and that's the Dragonfly Shop. It's full of brand new books and toys and souvenirs and things like that. But another place that children will really enjoy exploring is just right next door.
Our mission is to ignite a love of learning and discovery in children, and we think that learning doesn't just happen by going to school and learning facts and figures. It also, for children, it happens through doing and through playing, and we really believe play is the work of children. We have 5 different galleries, but 2 threads run through every gallery. The museum was built on the foundation that Mississippi's children need better activity and health, and also literacy. Many children in Mississippi are not reading at grade level, so every exhibit and gallery in the museum in some way ties back to our belief that we wanted to positively affect the health and literacy of the children of Mississippi. We have our World at Work gallery, which really explores what industries children can work in Mississippi. We have construction, energy, which has a lot of engineering type exhibits. We also have forestry and agriculture, construction. We have lots of different industries represented in our World at Work gallery, and each one will hopefully reflect an industry in Mississippi that will need our children to be educated and have those technical and 21st century skills to be ready to take on these jobs of the 21st century.
I really like some of the hands-on where you get to move the logs with the loader there. That was pretty cool. Checking out the car was pretty cool too. Just the real technical kind of aspect of it, that they get to really get to do those things is cool. We can talk about the different trees that grow in Mississippi, and here you can come and you can experience the trees up close, and you can see what we do with those and how they're used and how they grow, and then how we use those products. So I think it's a great experience from like beginning to end that kids just miss out on when they're sitting in front of the TV or playing video games, you know. So it's just a great experience.
Our largest exhibit or gallery or experience in the museum is the Mississippi Map. The Mississippi Map is a 5,000 square foot climbing map of the state of Mississippi, and we have lots of things on top cultural attractions on top of the map and lots of historical facts, but we also explore our geology under the map. And that's a really exciting opportunity for teachers and parents and children to explore our state and have a great sense of place that we think is really important as children navigate their world.
I think it's great. I think it's a good place for moms to bring kids during the day, and I love the fact that it's Mississippi themed. Being from Jackson, that's pretty cool, I think. Both boys really like the water exhibits, and my oldest son enjoys the log cabin and the little tree house or the forest maze thing. I like the water exhibits. I think they're pretty fun, and it's fun to watch my kids spray each other and get wet. So
I think it does bring out the child in all of us because there's so many creative things, and we still have an opportunity to create programs and exhibits, and the support of the community's really made that possible. This has been an amazing journey for me personally because I began as a volunteer on this project. So to see it come to life and then to actually have the opportunity to be here every day and to see children actually enjoy something that you saw on paper, and that's been an amazing thing.
Some of the most important fossil finds in the state are located here in the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science, like this guy back behind me here. This is an ancient ziggurata. They call him Ziggy for short. It's a whale skeleton. Now, the reason you find whale skeletons in Mississippi is this whole area used to be covered by a giant inland sea. And then when the sea receded, of course, the skeletons of the animals that had died in it stayed behind on what was then dry land, and then got covered over with dirt, and then eons later we dig them up. I got to go on an interesting fossil hunt here recently on another one of our great bodies of water. For those of us who grew up around the Mississippi River, we still have the grave warnings from our parents in our memories telling us not to go near it. That river will kill you, they said. So by and large, we didn't go out on the river all that much. Mississippi's way more a commercial waterway than a recreational river anyway. I don't ever recall anyone water skiing on the river. I'm sure they may have, but for every one you might have out here, you'll have 1,000 on Lake Ferguson at Greenville, or Lake Washington, or Lake Chico in Arkansas, and on, up and down the river. Fishermen still go out on the river, of course, and hunters. Howard Brent of Greenville spent most of his life on the river. River water runs in his veins.
Oh man, I mean, it's been my life, and it's the change in it. You know, you go up the river one time, and then the water comes up and it changes, but everything is beautiful. I mean, I saw a cougar, well, they call him a panther here, chasing 4 deer across the sandbar, and I could see the long tail on him. You know, that was up there close to Big Island, right across from Rosedale.
Puddin Moore of Greenville has been scouring the river for years, not the water, but the banks, looking for whatever he could find, and mostly what he's found are fossils. Most are late Ice Age mammals. That puts him at about 10,000 to maybe 100,000 years old. He's pretty much recognized as the go-to man if you find a bone around Greenville and want it identified.
We find mastodon, woolly mammoth, ground sloth, North American camel, prehistoric horses, tapir.
Gus Johnson, proprietor of Jim's Cafe in downtown Greenville, says he was the person who introduced Puddin to fossil hunting. Fossil hunting's like anything you do that you have any luck with early on. It becomes a habit.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I haven't done as much as I'd like to. I've been very busy, so I hadn't had a chance to go this year. This was the year to go because everything was down.
Everything was down in the summer of 2012. And was it ever? Especially compared to the spring of 2011 when the Mississippi River set, or nearly set, New record high water levels everywhere along the western border of our state and elsewhere. But by the summer of 2012, the river had fallen over 50 feet from last year's highs. The Mississippi River's never fallen that much in a year in modern history. But when the river is low like this, that means the bottom, usually under feet of water, is exposed. A mile of river bottom that is usually underwater bakes in the summer sun this year, and that exposed river bottom is ripe for fossil harvesting. I tagged along with George Phillips, the paleontology curator with the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science, and James Starnes with the DEQ, and Peter Kucherka, who spent his career in the nuclear industry and as a retiree enjoys volunteering and lending his abilities as a technician with the Natural Science Museum, and the mayor of Rosedale, Carrie Estes. All of us went out on a huge sand and gravel bar near Rosedale, and our quest was to find fossils, and this was the year to go.
This historic water level low on the Mississippi River has revealed portions of the river, gravel bars and sandbars, that are, in some cases, rich in fossil bones.
People find fossils in the Mississippi all the time. There's just more places to look in 2012 because of the low water. But George's office is full of finds from the past as well as this year.
This year, the most exciting fossil from the river is probably the carnivore fossils. Carnivore fossils are rather rare. In a natural setting, you may only see one predator per 100 and 150 prey species or prey animals. So we've got 3 different carnivore fossil reports this year, and one of them is a jaguar jawbone, the others is spectacle bear, and we also have part of the jaw of an American lion. In fact, the very first American lion fossil was found in Mississippi in the 1830s, found near Natchez, Mississippi.
This is how low the water is. That little white dot out there in the background is a towboat out on what's left of the river. All of the gravel and sand between us and it was under dozens of feet of water last year. So before the winter rains fill the river up again, our troop of bone sleuths are taking advantage of the drought. Knowing what to look for helps. Fossils are rocks too, so finding a particular rock in a pile of rocks is like looking for a particular needle in a haystack-sized stack of needles. But George spots something pretty quickly.
This bone is very light, so the lightweight relative to size and the brown color and the pattern, spongy on one side and smooth on the other, is very characteristic of bone, fragments of bone.
Quickly, the search widens from only fossils to other interesting rocks. James Starnes, a geologist with the State Department of Environmental Quality, looks at the rocks and reads the story of the history of the river in them like you and I would read a book.
This is Sioux quartzite, and this stuff came down from the ancestral Missouri River when glaciers rerouted the Missouri River, which used to flow north down into the Mississippi Basin. And like I said, this stuff is a little over 1 billion years old. It's probably one of the oldest rocks you'll be able to find out here.
Our big find of the day was uncovered by George. This is a bone that connects the head to the neck of an extinct giant ground sloth. The museum has a replica of a complete skeleton on display back in Jackson. Now this, where I'm pointing on the replica, is where the bone that came out of the river sands near Rosedale is, in context with the rest of the skeleton. James was content with volcanic rock that wound its way here from way out west, and rocks with mineral content that told where they originated and at about what era in geologic time. I enjoyed discussing everything from the price of gasoline to global warming with Peter. And as awe-inspiring as the rocks and fossils we found was being out on this sand and gravel bar where last year 30 or 40 feet of water would have been above our heads at this exact spot, with a mile of bar to hike back across between us and the car. Wondering when anyone would ever see the Mississippi River this low again. The Mississippi Museum of Natural Science acts as both a center for education and research, housing vast biological collections containing over 1 million specimens of animals, plants, and fossils. Paleontology curator George Phillips shared with us some of the museum's amazing array of ancient artifacts.
But this bone right here was the bone we found that day. Do you recall it?
I do. What will you do with this bone?
Well, this bone will go into the Museum of Natural Science collection, and if we get enough bones one day, we will build our own reproduction using Mississippi bones. The reproduction that stands in the display at the Museum of Natural Science is made of casts, and it's a composite skeleton. But we've probably got about 35% of an actual Mississippi skeleton that we've been working on for several years now.
Oh, really? But see, now to me that would sound like it's impossible, and I guess it really is just sort of hit and miss, but are you really have any high hopes of getting this whole skeleton someday?
Oh yeah, you know, it's a gradual process, and it takes a village in the sense that a lot of our material is donated by private individuals. We get phone calls and emails and walk-ins from all over Mississippi. People are finding things in Mississippi, rural Mississippi, in metropolitan areas, and they're bringing them to the museum to have them identified. You wouldn't believe what people bring into our Fossil Roadshow every year, and actually throughout the year.
Did you try to value these fossils, or do you just tell people what they have?
In a sense, although it's not a financial appraisal, we appraise their scientific value or their scientific importance. And sometimes they're important enough and worthy of a donation to the museum, particularly if they represent a specimen of an extinct species that we've not yet documented in Mississippi. We're gradually documenting year after year through our own efforts and through donations what Mississippi looked like in the prehistoric world.
This ravine back behind me here is known as Fossil Gulch because of all the fossils that have been found here. It's just off one of the nature trails, right behind the Mississippi Museum of Natural Sciences buildings, on 300 pristine natural acres, right here on the banks of the Pearl River. Now, these trails meander through wooded bluffs, they skirt the edges of lakes, they cross swamps and river bottoms. They give visitors the chance to study living things in their natural environment. Numerous markers can be found along these trails that show the way, convey information, and point out places of interest. Like this marker here in honor of Robert Calloway. Calloway was principal of the Pocahontas school system back in the 1930s and really encouraged his students to develop their interest in nature, and was instrumental in developing the original nature trail in this park. Hey, speaking of trail markers, in our next story, we're going to meet a Mississippi trailblazing singer-songwriter who has a trail marker of their own on another trail, the Mississippi Blues Trail. Mississippi has produced many great artists and musicians, and one of our own among these masters of the arts is Cassandra Wilson. Born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi, this musician, singer, songwriter, and producer has been a trailblazer for jazz artists around the world, the recipient of 2 Grammy Awards, a mark on the Mississippi Blues Trail, and countless awards and honors, as well as being named America's Best Singer by Time magazine. And we're proud to call her a true Mississippian.
The moment that I decided I wanted to be a musician was probably when I was about 6, 7 years old. And my father was a musician. So I had started taking piano lessons, and I was in love with music, and I knew that that's what I would do.
I guess I began to really begin to appreciate and value who she was. So I began to listen to Blue Skies and just all the wonderful songs that she had performed, and just became, you know, a lover of her music.
Jazz is a very important form in America. I count myself as one of those, among one of those types of musicians that are really concerned about the art and really motivated every day to get up and create something brand new. And your focus is not so much on becoming famous. It can happen, you know, coincidentally, I think. But your focus really is on honing your craft, and being able to communicate as best as possible your ideas as an artist.
I don't know where we're going. I've no idea how this will end. From the beginning, I've been swimming in the current of your skin. The autumn rains turned into thunderstorms. The waters rose. I was drowning in your arms.
I had always had a flair for improvisation from the time I was very young. But it was not until I came under the umbrella of the Black Arts Music Society that I began to really study in depth masters like Charlie Parker and Thelonious Monk and John Coltrane and Miles Davis and Sarah Vaughan, you know, people like that who have had a tremendous influence on me.
She's been in the business a long time, so, and I've experienced a lot, even through recordings, even through mastering music, mixing music, and I always look for her about, and like her opinions and guidance in my writing. She's a songwriter as well.
And not only is she an incredible songwriter, she's also very savvy when it comes to business. Cassandra Wilson created her own record label, Oja Media Group, right here in Jackson, Mississippi.
Oja Media Group developed slowly. It started out as Oja Records in 2000, the year 2000. We released the first project, which was Oshogbo Town by Rhonda Richmond. And the motivation for creating Oja Media Group really came from a desire to change the model in the marketplace. Generally, you know, the large record companies benefit tremendously, you know, from the creativity of artists, and artists are usually at the lowest rung of the ladder when it comes to sharing in the wealth that comes from their creation. So Oja Media Group is a different paradigm.
She definitely wants to see an artist develop holistically. I think in an industry that really promotes so much with just the exterior and the whole ideal of mainstream, she definitely brings out the essence. I want you to bring out the essence of who you are.
It goes beyond the state of Mississippi. I think that with her international notoriety, having been the #1 jazz artist in the world, of course, is an opportunity to put us on the map more.
I think the most rewarding part of my life's journey thus far is to return to Jackson and open the Yellow Scarf.
The living environment that she's creating with the Yellow Scarf promotes these artists now. And it gives an additional flavor, an additional venue, an additional outlet for people to enjoy music in a different kind of way. The Yellow Scarf philosophy is a listening room. You actually come and it's quiet. You could hear the instruments. It's not like being at a concert where you're being blasted with volumes of sound. You can sit at your table and hold a discussion. If you talk too loud, people turn around and look at you funny. You know, it's one of those kind of things. And I think that's the kind of environment that we need in order to promote an additional form of music here.
It gives me a place to be creative and to play my music. And the greatest thing about the Yellow Scarf is the community that we've built around it. the musicians, the masters, and their guidance. If you're a writer, it's an opportunity for you to share your music and your original arrangements. So I think it provides a place where they can be creative in what they do.
I can't tell you how much it's meant to me to be able to share this music with the people of Jackson, and to come back home and to see friends that I grew up with, musicians that I performed with. It's great to play with them again, and to also have this space, you know, that kind of picks up where Black Arts Music Society left off, a place where jazz is welcome. We also have, you know, other types of music, as long as it's creative, you know, and as long as it's your original music and you're expressing yourself in an original way, you have a home at the Yellow Scarf.
Hey, regrettably, that's all the time we have for this episode. But if you've got a question about anything you've seen in the show, contact us at mpbonline.org/Mississippi Roads, or like us on Facebook. Till next time, I'm Walt Grayson. I'll be seeing you on Mississippi Roads.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.